Hey there, welcome back to Ask Amy. I have a question today from Brenda. Brenda says, and I love how this starts, I know this is not logical. None of this is logical. I know this is not logical, she says, but I have this constant background tug that seems to prevent me from enjoying the freedoms I have. My life does not feel easy, but I know I have it better than most. I'm comfortable financially, I have a wonderful lifetime partner, my kids are healthy, etc. I have no reason to be so unsettled. And yet when I hear about what's happening in Ukraine, Gaza, etc., I feel like I don't have the right to just go on with my life in a carefree manner and enjoy myself. It makes no sense. Making myself miserable does nothing to help anyone in the Ukraine or Gaza or anywhere else. Can you help me work through this thought storm? So, Brenda, thanks for sending this. And like I said, I love how you say it a few times in here. It makes no sense. It's not logical. And just to point out, what is, what even is logical? And that's just so how the mind would love for this to make sense. If this all made sense in some way, then there would just be nothing to talk about, but it's like, that's kind of part of the mind is churning this up, as we'll see in a second. It's just this constant churn of thought and them and me and what should be and what could be and all of that. And then just rolled into that churn is, and this isn't logical, and this makes no sense, which isn't anything different. It's just more thinking that maybe kind of helps this feel even more heavy. So, I think that alone is really huge to see in this, that, and you just see, I'm just going to say it how it looks to me, and you see what fits for you or what kind of resonates. But that this doesn't make sense, nothing really does. And that points us back to this kind of just internal churning. And we feel that in terms of sensations and emotions. So there's all kinds of physical stuff happening that's feeling like it's bringing this to life. And also in that, there are all kinds of thoughts and stories and beliefs that you might recognize floating around in there. All of that to say, this is, and I don't exactly mean it this way, I'm just going to say it this way, this is a Brenda's psychology thing. This is a Brenda's psychology creation. And I don't mean it like Brenda's psychology, meaning like other psychologies don't do this. All psychologies do this in their own way. All of them. There's just this mechanism, this churning, this mind having conversations, comparing, categorizing, looking at how you are guessing other people feel and how you should feel and why you should feel that way. They should feel blah, blah, blah because they're in war. You should feel blah, blah, blah because you're not in war. Like all of that, I just really want you to see if you can back up and see all of this is an in the moment, in real time, on the spot, created psychological experience. This is your reality when it's arising, but it's just your reality when it's arising, meaning there's nothing more universal. There's nothing more like objective or true or long-lasting or factual going on here. It's a creation of psychology. It's what a mind does. And that can be hard to see. Like I suspect, because you're sending this to me and it sounds like you are not brand new to this, that you know that on some level we do. This is not hard to learn, right? We can kind of get a feel for this. But to really, really see it, because it's like it comes up and it's just flipped and put out there. Like, no, that is happening and that is happening. And I do have this in my life. And, just the stories and the judgments and the turning it around and bringing in outside things and the justifications. It happens in an instant. It's a brilliant creation. And it absolutely feels like there's something wrong with how you're feeling at the end of all of this. But just see if you can see that this is all that there is in the moment when all of this is being created. It's being created so brilliantly and quickly and kind of subtly and then passed off as truth of things. And that's fine. But that's all there is. There is no there is no like better than most, for example. So you say, where do you say it? Something along the lines of, I think my life is easier than most. I have it better than most. Let's just look at that one for a second. How would we know that? What does that even mean? I mean, I know what you mean as a human, because this is how language works and we talk like this. Well, I have it better than most. But what is, that's not accurate. That's not true. It's not factual. It's an abstraction that a mind makes based on some criteria that, I don't know, again, you mentioned some things financially, you have healthy kids. Those are all beautiful circumstances. You're not in a war. Great circumstances. But they don't mean anything about how we feel. And so again, I know you see this because you say it's not logical. So you're onto that. But really examining this can help break this apart. Because on some level you know it, but the fact that it's not logical is kind of creating more suffering where it can, And what I want you to see is like the fact that this is not logical is awesome. Like this is your huge pointer back to show you it's not logical because it's not real. It's not true. There's just a psychological story happening that's passed off. And again, people can agree with you. You could go to lunch with your friends and they will all agree. You have a great life, Brenda. Like you have everything to be happy about. Aren't we lucky? That's fine, but that means nothing about what is actually felt in a moment. So I guarantee that there are people in the middle of a war that you mentioned who we would not trade our circumstances with their circumstances for anything. But no question, there is a sense for somebody sitting in the middle of a war zone right this minute, there is a sense of just peace and just this and just being in life as life and resilience that many of us sitting in comfortable circumstances would kill for. It just has nothing to do with any of that, really. And that's so hard for the mind to see because it's just so used to constantly like experiences produced and then it's turned around and thrown out there and saying this is the cause and that's the cause. But it just doesn't really work that way. So what this all comes back to for you, Brenda, is seeing, you're right, it's not logical, doesn't matter, it won't be. But the stories and the fact that they feel like there's something to that there's something there for you to really start to examine for yourself and really see, like, what if my whole idea of peace and happiness and all of that, what if I don't know anything about it? And all there is what's showing up right here in this very moment. And this is what there is to fully feel into. So like this is it. This is what there is. Like full immersion in the sensations that are showing up, the thoughts that are showing up. And you're going to start to notice, I bet, some of these beliefs. It's beliefs in here about what you deserve and what makes people happy. And I just mentioned a bunch of them, right? But just notice those. Notice those as they come out. And it's much easier, I think, to notice some of the beliefs that we've been taking as truth when we're feeling. When we're down in the senses, in real life, in this moment, we're open to anything and we're just curious. And we're just wanting to see what story is playing in here. What images and comparisons and judgments are playing in here. Turn it back on the content of all of this stuff, and I guarantee you'll start to see a lot. But just know this bigger, broader story that you kind of present as the issue, I have a great life, what's wrong with me that I'm not more happy, has nothing to do with anything. That story that's causing all this suffering just gets to be your pointer in to do kind of maybe play with what I'm suggesting, which is just full immersion in this and just see, what the heck is this feeling? What the heck is this thought? What's actually going on here, to examine things a little bit more in that way. So I hope that's helpful. Thank you, Brenda, for sending the question. Thanks, everyone, for listening. And I'll see you back here next Monday. Send your questions to askamy@thelittleschoolofbigchange.com.